Welcome to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere with your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome. It's Chris Parker here. And I have as an extremely guest,
An extremely guest. Hello, I'm an extremely guest.
Hello.
Right.
This is Chris Parker here, and I have an extremely special guest, someone close to my heart, Kristjan Knigge, who is,
That's me.
he will introduce himself and what he does. But what I have done with him has been on many amazing journeys, producing feature films with him, life-changing events, amazing projects. So delighted to have Kristjan here. Kristjan,
Hello.
with that introduction.
I don't quite know what to say after that introduction. Hi, I'm Kristjan. I'm a filmmaker by trade and by passion. Chris got involved with a project called the 48-Hour Film Festival or Film Competition many years ago. Project back in 2007, which I competed in, and we've been kind of fast friends since then. And yeah, we've been on lots of journeys. I make films. I make feature films and narrative films as a passion. I also make corporate content and commercials and that kind of thing for work. But anything that is telling stories with images and sounds is what I love to do.
And now I'm just curious, why is this a passion?
To be honest, I grew up on and around film sets because my mother is an art director and set builder in film. And I never really considered doing anything else. Luckily, the profession that I was exposed to from a very young age is one that is very cool and broad and has a lot of space for lots of different types of talents. It's one of the things I love about the film industry. One of the things I love about working in the film industry is that basically every human skill set or quality or capacity that somebody has, we've got a space for you in the film industry, and we need you. You know, if you're good with numbers, we need accountants. If you're very, very physical, we need dancers and stuntmen. If you're good with music, we definitely need musicians. You know, I mean, whatever type of skill set or whatever type of organizational skills. There's production and communication skills. There's first ADs and very artistic people, we need them. Very, very analytic people, we need them. Very bossy people, we need them. All of those types of people, there's a home somewhere in the film industry. So it's, if you're growing up kind of following in your parents' footsteps, at least you're not getting channeled into something where you have to have a certain type of skill set or mindset to be able to function in it. There's space to find your niche within the industry, and that's one of the things I like, because you get to work with so many different types of people, especially as a film director like I am, because you're involved in the entire process from concept to writing a script all the way through to even to distribution and marketing. Like every step along the way you're involved in. Now that's a privilege.
Yeah, they are sort of marathons, I think. I've learned that working with you. These things take a long time. I think if you're not
working with me
it,
is a marathon?
It takes a long time. No, these projects take a long time to from idea to actually, finished product.
Yeah.
Just for everyone else, maybe give us a few words maybe about I'm going to mispronounce it, but Stilte Gebied, and maybe the right juice. Maybe maybe we'll put some links in the show notes so people can
stuff for people to watch. Okay,
yeah.
Well then we have to talk about stuff that people can watch. Well, at the moment we've got our the three features that you and I worked on are all out there, right? Because we've put them out during these times, these stay-at-home times. So The Right Juice was my first feature film. That was the first project of mine that we worked on together. I had worked on projects of yours before that, but that was the first one that you came on board with one of my projects. That was a feature that we shot in the Algarve. Family-friendly, family fun, comedy, kind of a fish out of water, coming of middle age, we call it, because it's kind of a coming of age, but it's not about a teenager. It's about a full-grown man learning to become an adult, and that was a lot of fun. It was great fun to do a comedy. It was great fun to do a kind of a film with pace, that is lighthearted and at the same time has some really deep messages about the environment and about how relationships can work. Then we did Second Honeymoon, which was the first of our Longship projects, which was a film that we shot, a feature-length film that we shot in 6 days with a tiny crew. It was kind of an experiment to see if it was possible, and it turns out it was. That was incredible fun to do and incredibly good. And then we went on to try and repeat that. That didn't work, and we ended up making Exposure, but it was a totally different journey than Second Honeymoon. But that was a very learning experience as well, because we found out that that one worked, and trying to repeat it in the same way didn't. So we had to refine our methodology, and one of the things that Chris and I are doing is refining that methodology for the next project, which I had been hoping to do sort of nowish, but I don't know, some stuff happened in the world and it was kind of not the right time.
In hindsight, the whole Corona time could have been the perfect time to do it. The Right Juice is still one of my favorite films, so we'll put that in the show notes and on the links, and it was absolutely brilliant. So how do you choose what to do with your time? So this is sort of the second question, because you're involved in so many things, and film is a deeply creative and commercial endeavor. You have to create value and capture value. I'm just curious, what is in your mind when you're sifting through all the possibilities that come towards you? How do you actually choose the projects to work on and choose and
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised that it's not that many projects that come flying one's way. But yes, I mean, you do have to make choices. I think the number one choice is, do I see a story that engages? And then number two is, do I see a message that touches? And I think controversially, I think the story is the first consideration and the message for me is the second consideration, because I think it doesn't matter what your message is. If the story doesn't engage, that message isn't going to come out anyway. So yeah, for me, story that engages me, because I only have, I have a sample size of one when evaluating a script or a potential story or a project. Sample size is me. I'm the one that's going to have to go the distance and, like you said, run the marathon. So it better engage me to start with. And then hopefully each person along the way that gets involved, whether they be script writing or whether they be concept development or whether they be camera people or whether, let's hope that, or let's make sure that they are also engaged by it, so that they can, put their full into it. But I better be entertained and engaged by the story, in order to put the effort in all the way through. Because I do realize, I do have that awareness, or I've learned from the project that as a director, you're in it for the long haul. You're in it all the way, like The Right Juice. I remember you and I sitting down after about 4 years into The Right Juice, and we'd finished filming 2 and something years previously, and we both went, why is this still so much work? We've finished it, and it's out in the world, and it's doing its thing, and we're still having all this work to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of it, especially when working in the indie kind of space that we are. You don't have a big studio and a big machine that then takes over. I mean, I'd love to do a project for a proper big studio, because I'd love that luxury of delivering a film and then just getting told, now please turn up to this and this interview, but not actually have to be part of the creation and that'd be lovely. But it's also fine that isn't my situation yet. Maybe I'm still young.
So how does that, going from I'm just genuinely curious about this. You go from story and message, and then I've observed at a distance things going on in your brain about making decisions on how that story would be shaped. Because there's so many artistic decisions. Would it be fast? Would it be slow? Would it be long? Would it be short? You somehow you have to make decisions about the talent that's involved. I guess there's this sort of, is it a linear process, or is it just a big?
No, it's completely non-linear, and it kind of has to be. You're right. There are so many moving. I never really thought about it like that, but yeah, there are so many moving parts. Tough question. How do you? I think you kind of take it all in little bits. And we have structures in the film industry. We do have structures for that. We have, we break things down. We like to break things down into components, into little bits, and you tackle each bit and you go for it. But you're right. It's about making choices. I was lucky enough that I can't remember if it was the first thing or one of the first things I ever directed. I was working with a cameraman friend of mine, Eric. Eric Bannerberg. And we were going to Tanzania to shoot a documentary. And before we left, he said, well, look, you're new to this directing gig. We'd known each other for a while. So he felt quite comfortable being straight with me. And he said, look, let's clarify expectations of what we expect from each other. I'm the cameraman. You're the director. This is what I expect from you. I expect you. No, sorry. He said, what I, the cameraman, will do is I will ask red or blue, and you will choose. And that's the relationship. And I kind of went, I was quite young. I kind of went, I can do that. And I found out more and more and more. And this is whatever it was. This is 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I can't remember. A while ago. And I found out more and more since then that, yes, that is the heart of directing films is choosing.
I guess it's sort of in the title, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you don't just, you have to make choices. The wonderful thing is that if you're lucky enough to work with amazing people, and you're part of creating that amazing team, but if you're lucky enough to have these projects that have these amazing people attached, they give you amazing choices to make. And if you're lucky, you're not making a choice between something that's not good and something that's good, but between two things that are great, and you have to somehow pick the most greatest of the two. And then if you're making 10 of those kinds of decisions and one or two of them you choose the not quite greatest, you're still choosing something great. So that's okay. The big ones, the ones where where I really agonize and worry and have imposter syndrome type fears, is when choosing cast, when casting somebody, because the person, the person that is going to be portraying that role, you can't go back, you can't change. Like even a script choices, you can change, you can tweak, you can refine, all the way into the edit, you can do something about it. One of the great things about film is that we can mold, and the movie isn't finished until we say, okay, now it's finished. It's like painting a canvas. It's like the difference between painters that work in paint and artists that hew in stone. Somebody who's carving a statue out of stone, chink, piece of stone falls off, that's it. You can't go back. If you're working in oil paint, layer on layer on layer, scrape it off, start again, layer on layer on layer.
I think that's sort of what you did in Second Honeymoon when some of the talent in that was, because of the nature, I'm talking about Sitza here, so because of the nature of the experimental way we were doing it, agile filmmaking, what it felt like to me is you sort of pivoted even that role a little bit, and the movie actually evolved.
Not a little bit, actually. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because but that's very niche. I mean, usually you have a story and a script, and that script has to be told. Because of the way we were working there, we could actually, instead of change the actor, we changed the script to fit the actor.
Yeah. What
we found is that we'd written a role that didn't work for the actor, for this actor in combination with these two actresses. It was the dynamic between the three that didn't work for the original script we wrote. But seeing as we were writing the script on the fly, we could pivot and change the script and change the character and actually use the dynamic that was happening between them. And that's a luxury, because there are many films. I mean, the one that comes to mind is I won't disparage other films. There are many films that I think are lesser films because the energy between two cast members wasn't what the film required, or simply due to complete miscasting. And I'm sure we've all seen films where we think, why the hell is that person playing that part or playing opposite that other person? So that's one of the reasons why I agonize a lot over casting. You can't go back. They've got to be right. And my responsibility is to make it work with that actor or actress. And the most harrowing example of that I've ever had was my most recent film, Silence Undone, where I cast Kirsten, my daughter, in one of the main roles. And I mean, that was very, very difficult. Look, I was convinced that she was the best choice out of the options that we had and the castings that we'd done. But I've never asked so many people for their opinion as on that, because I was so aware of my bias, or maybe I was not even aware, but just I expected me to have bias. I don't know. It was really, really hard. It was fun. And I asked everybody under the sun, please look at these casting tapes. And am I really seeing this? Is it really good? Is it? Took me weeks and weeks and weeks with everybody waiting on tenterhooks. Like, what the hell? Come on, we need to move on.
In hindsight?
Great choice. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Stunning performance. Stunning. Film coming out sometime soon, depending on what happens with the virus. I mean, the film is finished.
Yeah.
We finished it last week.
At least there will be some, what we're working towards is at least having something in the middle of November for the Dutch week against.
But that, I mean, yeah.
So
that's
a thing.
The film itself exists. It's ready, but we have to figure out how to put it out there and share it with people and make a splash. And do we only want to share it virtually? It's such a shame. We've got this amazing sound mix that's a surround 5.1 mix that you really need to experience in the cinema. There's a lot of kind of
So
Sorry, are we diverging from your script too much?
No, we are diverging where we want to go, which is great. So what I want to go into is sort of maybe what's next. Meaning, you as a personal brand, filmmaker, film educator.
I teach
film coach. You're out there working on projects, for pay, passion projects sometimes as well. How do you, continue to grow your business and attract projects? And
I'm very bad at growing my business in any meaningful structural way. But what I do like is that I have a sort of a small core of clients that seem to come back again and again and again. So I think I'm probably all right as a maker. I like it, especially when you have a client that you worked for a number of years ago, did some projects for, and then they kind of disappeared off your radar, and you think, okay, well, they've moved on, and then they come back, and it turns out either this happened to me last year, that they tried a few other filmmakers and wanted to come back because they liked working with me better, or that they just that they'd moved their business into something else and hadn't been making films. But as soon as they got back into needing video content, I was the first person they called. So that's fun. That's nice. It would be nice if people let you know that happens along the way, rather than you have to think they're not calling anymore. But it's fine.
You and Eric,
business.
Yeah. Well, you and Eric recently, you filled out a simple business canvas for that as well. So it's cool to see how the thinking of that was going. But you and Eric started, I think, a pretty innovative new concept for corporate videos. So that's a deliberate business growth deliberate, activity.
Yes, but we have found that Eric especially has been doing a lot of outreach to try and drum up a business for that, try and get clients for that. And now really isn't the time. I mean,
no.
I don't think we should all automatically assume that during Corona lockdown things can't be done. Example, for Silence Undone, we did a crowdfunding campaign, which was for the post-production and for some marketing funds and to gain some audience. We had that planned, and then suddenly Corona hit, and we had some serious discussions about should we be doing a crowdfunding in this global pandemic. And I actually said, no, we shouldn't. I thought we maybe shouldn't. Luckily, the rest of the team said, no, let's go for it. And it was massively successful. massively successful. I mean, it's more successful than we could have hoped for. So we should not automatically assume that during these weird times we shouldn't be doing things or starting up things or whatever. So we did with Motion Bank, and I think Motion Bank is a great idea, and I think it's a really viable business that I definitely want to go forwards with. We have noticed that right now, the product that we're offering, nobody's interested in.
Motion Bank is the company, and it's Motion
Bank is the company.
NL then?
Motionbank.nl, yeah.
Okay.
And
what do you offer there?
Well, the idea is in the world of corporate marketing or corporate communication, corporate expression, there are productions, so commercials or product videos or testimonials or brand videos. Those are stories about a particular subject, and we make videos about them. People make videos about them. Companies hire people and they make videos. There is also this universe of stock footage. Often a presentation or some sort of corporate communication can use stock video. Stock video can be very, very useful for some things. What Eric and I realized is that very few companies very few companies have their own stock video footage. So not just generic stock that might be related to their business, but actual proprietary footage of their own business, of their own processes, of their own products, whatever it is, but not in the form of a video that is edited and has a narrative, but in the form of resources that can be used and repurposed for other things. Because if you have somebody make a corporate video for you, you're not necessarily able to repurpose that footage for something else. There might be titles over it. There might be music. There might be crossfades or whatever. The shots might not be long enough, and you also might not be allowed to. I mean, often there's a contract, and if a filmmaker makes a product, the product is not the footage. The product is the film. You haven't paid for the footage. You've paid for the film, which is right and proper. So we want to enter that niche market of saying, hey, we will come and create custom, purpose-made stock footage of whatever you need, of your company, of your processes, people, your building, whatever you've got as a company.
Really liked about that is you offer up in these packages, so that it was very easy to consume, and so sort of
well, the idea behind
easy to negotiate. It's just okay. Hey, sort of a turnkey. Made a lot of sense.
The idea for the product is that. The idea for the company is that it's super, super simple. Very transparent up front. You buy it as a package, like we're very used to when we buy software services. Like anybody who signs up for some sort of service, software related or internet related, or if you're web hosting, we're very used to you buy a package. You pay this price or this price or this price, and you get this. And we figured that's the best way to do this. Most filming is sort of custom, and you have to negotiate. And a lot of companies don't know enough to see, well, what am I buying? Whereas if you just have packages, this is what you're going to get, and very upfront about it. I think that's going to work. And we've had some positive responses, but right now businesses are not looking at that yet. Funnily enough, through the marketing efforts that we've been doing, we are probably going to get a couple of regular, normal production gigs out of it of doing corporate videos, because people are more interested in that right now. But I still think the product that our core product can be very interesting, and we can make very high quality assets to use.
So motionbank.nl.
Motionbank.nl.
So we'll put that in the notes as well. So Kristjan, two more questions for you. Also looking at the time, is there something that you have discovered or deployed or implemented in your life, personal or professional, that has really helped you simplify your life?
Simplify.
Or improve, or make more efficient, entertain?
Make more efficient and make better. I think the number one thing is to create people in your life that can be completely honest.
Create people, you mean your daughters? Those are the ones you've created?
No, I mean create relationships. And I have a few, and one of them is you. But I firmly believe that we create friendships. We create relationships. We create people in our. I just have a way of describing it. We create people in our lives that have certain functions or benefits for us. And I don't want to boil friendship down to just a sort of a functional transactional thing. It isn't. It's more than that. But there is that aspect. And we all know that for certain things, we go to certain friends or family members or relationships. When we need somebody to just shut up and listen and give us a hug, we go to this person. When we need somebody to give us some critical feedback, we go to this person. That part, the critical feedback, is very, very, very important. And people that will volunteer, not when you've asked for it, not even necessarily when you want it, but will volunteer, hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Tough, almost unanswerable questions that are worth exploring, and in trying to answer them, you can learn something. So I've managed to find a few, or create, or whatever, a few of those people. I think that's the most important thing you can do. And whether it's in business or in personal, and if you're lucky, it's a combination of both. So that's,
I think I love it. I think it also starts with you, or it starts with the person, because you have to be open for that feedback, being open for self-reflection. And then when someone comes and gives you feedback, and if it's coming from a place of love and care and respect, those two things together. Yeah.
Hang on here. I want to jump in on that because I think that's really important. There is a narrative that we hear a lot, which is, I'm very open to feedback as long as it's constructive feedback. So you're saying, we know if it's coming from a place of love. That is presupposing certain things, and that's cherry picking which feedback we are going to listen to and we aren't going to listen to. And what we do is we choose, this person is allowed to give me feedback because they have the status or whatever, and this person isn't. This situation is this. I was lucky enough a long time ago in a personal development training setting to learn all feedback is valuable. Doesn't matter who it comes from or when it comes, all feedback is valuable. Not all feedback is true, but those are two different things.
No, true. Yeah.
Any feedback that comes your way, whether it be in the form of somebody going, hey, you are, in a car as you drive by, that's feedback, or whether it be somebody sitting down and having a long conversation with you, both of those are valuable. You get to choose which one you do something with, which one you take on board and actually implement or change something or even look at. You get to choose that. I think the concept of I'm open to feedback if it's constructive is actually quite toxic, because it's actually giving yourself a cop-out clause from the off. Like, you're allowed to give me feedback, but I'm going to tell you how. And I find that I've learned that because I used to do that very heavily myself. I used to be very, but you haven't said it in this particular way, or you don't know, you are not the kind of person. And I'm trying very much to teach myself all feedback can be potentially valuable, and I still get to choose whether I take it on board or whether I do something with it. So sorry to jump in on that.
No, fair enough.
I find that very...
I think that goes with sort of any event that happens in your life, any stimulus that happens in your life. You have a choice on what to do with it. But we do need to wrap up. Last quick question. How can people, maybe we need a repeat. How can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
They can go to my website. I think that's probably the easiest. Are you going to be adding graphics or something to this? Because my name has a really weird spelling.
Well, it'll be in the title of the...
okay. So my website is... I was going to write it out, but my writing is very illegible. So I don't think that's helping people. My website is KristjanKnigge.com, KristjanKnigge.com. Or just Google my name. I'm lucky enough to have a very, very unique name that basically nobody else has in the world, at least, the combination of first name and second name. So if you Google Kristjan Knigge, KristjanKnigge, the first 3 or 4 pages of Google will all basically be me.
That doesn't really apply to me.
No, Mr. Parker.
Okay.
Googleability is a thing.
KristjanKnigge.com. Thank you, Kristjan.
KristjanKnigge.com. Bye, all.
Learn more at ebillion.com/podcast.